With coronavirus and double pneumonia. 2 days ago, we talked to him right here on the show from his quarantined hospital room in Georgia. Welcome back. Well, right now, Clay Bentley in Georgia is living with coronavirus and double pneumonia. 2 days ago, we talked to him right here on the show from his quarantined hospital room in Georgia.
Nobody can come see me. I can't even walk out of the room. Hopefully, I'll be out of here soon.
Well, his story was so striking that it quickly caught the attention of so many of you, including the Vice President Mike Pence.
I talked to a man named Clay Bentley in Rome, Georgia. His personal strength and his faith have sustained him through this, and it was inspiring to talk to him.
That is true. Clay is still in the hospital. His wife, Susie, is under quarantine inside of their home. They both join me now. Thank you both so much for doing this. And Clay, let's just begin with you. How are you feeling this morning?
Well, I'm feeling much better now. I feel like, I've rounded third base now and I'm headed home. So I'm believing that in a few days I'll be back with my wife and back with my family.
I am so glad to hear that. I understand after you talked to Jim and I on Wednesday morning, you got a phone call from the Vice President. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the Vice President called me the very day, Mike Pence, and told me that he saw my story and told me that he'd been praying for me, and he was going to continue to pray for me. And, it just really makes me proud to be an American. To know that our government really cares. He cares. I mean, he has a compassionate heart, and he's been there for me, and it just makes me feel great. But I will say this, that I've received emails and phone calls from all over the world from people who have been encouraged through this fight. It's been a fight, but I've gotten through it.
Clay, I would just note I'm so glad that call made you feel better and that all the staff there taking care of you. Just remind people who may not have seen your interview on Wednesday, though, what you went through. I mean, you initially went to get tested and you were turned away.
That's right. I came to the hospital. It was on a Monday, very sick, flu-like symptoms, and they tested me for the flu, which came back negative. And they kept me all day putting fluids through me. They wound up sending me home that night and said, well, this, it's negative for the flu, so we're just going to send you home. So they sent me home. Yeah. Well, over the next 4 days, it got really bad. And I called the hospital back on Friday, and they told me to come back in. And that's when they decided to get with the CDC and test me for the coronavirus, which I...
Susie, Clay described that to us just a few days ago, as saying he felt like, in his words, he was sent home to die. And when he went home over the next 4 days, you were there. You were taking care of him. You saw this play out firsthand, and now you are quarantined at home. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have no symptoms for that.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you hear me okay, Susie?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now. You are under self-quarantine at your house for 2 weeks. Is that right? And can you tell me what that's been like?
It's been very quiet in the house, but I'm grateful that I can move around a house, knowing that Clay is sitting in one small room. I'm okay. I'm fine. I have been very touched by so many people who have reached out and care about what's going on, and that means a lot.
Let's talk about that, because, we talk about the medical impact, which is so important, right? I'm so glad Clay seems to be recovering. But to talk about the emotional toll on you guys and what you might have to say to other couples across the country and around the world who are going through this right now, Susie, it's incredibly lonely and isolating.
It can be. I am very grateful for the technology we have that has just made a huge difference. But I just hear loudly all week that I just say the word. Anytime that any fear comes, or loneliness, or anything that is negative with all that's going on and all the changes that are going on, I stand on his word. I stand on his promises that no weapon formed against us can prosper, and I give him praise. In the meantime, I know that he's got my husband. I know that he will come through this, and don't rely on what everyone else is saying. Find out what God has to say and stand on his word. That's what is getting us through. And that is how I've been even encouraging others that are so worried for Clay that maybe aren't as hopeful or more worrisome. It doesn't do you any good to be afraid or worry. You've got to find something to put your hope in, and it's solid.
I'm so glad your faith is helping you guys through this. I know it's been very helpful to Clay as well. Clay, what are your doctors saying to you?
Well, I wanted to add to what she said. And I just had a doctor yesterday. He told me they did some X-rays of my lungs and said that my lungs were in worse shape today. This was yesterday. That your lungs are in worse shape today than they were when you came in. But sometimes that pneumonia, it gets worse before it gets better. But I will say that I heard the voice of God inside of me telling me, no, you're getting better. You're getting better, and I think it's what we begin to hear. I think that's why this country, we walk in fear, because we hear these fear stories, and it causes every pandemonium. But if you're hearing the right voices and you follow those voices, because God began to tell me that I was getting better, and look at me today, I feel better. So
and very good that you went to get help, that you went to get help from medical professionals. I know they turned you away, but you went back to get the aid that you needed. Susie, have you been tested for coronavirus?
I have not been tested. Since I don't have symptoms, I am, during my quarantine, taking my temperature twice a day and notifying the Board of Health of any symptoms that would change or arise, or anything that would come about, any cough or any flu, or not flu, but temperature change or anything like that. So I'm in contact. That's how they're keeping up with that. And I know lots of people have asked, why haven't you been tested? Don't you want to be tested? And I get it. To me, if I'm tested and I'm negative now and were to develop during this another week, to possibly it show up then I'd have to be tested again. That doesn't make sense to waste a test and wait on the test. So it makes sense to me until you have, more severe symptoms, that you shouldn't be tested. So that's okay with me. I'm fine.
But check in with the medical professionals as you get close to the end of your quarantine again in terms of the testing, because you were around Clay for a long time, days when he had this. So stay safe, both of you. Thank you for coming on. And Clay, we're just thrilled that you're feeling better.
Well, I just thank this network, because I feel like this network was the door that was open for the world to be able to see, what exactly is going on with this coronavirus. And I'll just say that love was poured out when darkness came in my life. I mean, love was poured out from all over the world. And if we just continue to follow love, if we just continue to follow God, everything's going to be all right.
We're glad we could help on that front. We'll be here every minute of every day. Thank you guys both very much. Clay Bentley.